Hello and welcome to Pest in Class, Expert Voices in Pest Management. I'm your host, Amanda Salvatore, and on today's episode, we have Zeus Martinez, COO of Newtown, Termite, and Pest. Zeus's company has grown 377% in the last 3 years. We talked about how to prepare your business for that type of growth, focusing on enhancing efficiency, and being a team player in your community. Let's get into it. Zeus Martinez, thank you so much for joining me on Pest in Class today. You are the COO of Newtown, Termite, and Pest. I am so excited to talk to you today.
I'm happy to be here. I hope I can give you some good answers.
I think you will. Zeus and I have talked previously, and I think our listeners are really going to enjoy this conversation. You have some really great insight as well as a shining personality, so I think it's going to be a fun one.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if you know this, but you are our first guest on the podcast.
I
So
didn't
thank
know
you.
that. So I got to set the bar really high so everyone else is just a little bit.
Exactly. I thought go big or go home.
Fair enough. Yeah. You got big, so.
I did. And I'm very excited. Thank you again. So before we really get into the nitty gritty, I wanted to ask you an icebreaker and get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
So what song are you currently listening to on repeat right now?
I wish I could give you a cool answer, but I listen to a lot of different music. Some of my friends, when they're in my truck, they're like, your playlist kind of gives me whiplash. But so I'll listen to anything from George Strait, The Strokes, everything. But my uncool answer right now is All My Exes Live in Texas by George Strait. I listen to that all the time. The cool answer is Reptilia by The Strokes. So you get one of both.
You know what? Both good choices. For country music, I am very much stuck in 1996. And I need to. So I'm like, I know George Strait. I know that name. So much appreciated. And I'll have to check it out. So put it on a playlist.
It's a good one.
I bet you it is. I believe it. I wanted to kind of dive right in and find out what your journey was into pest control, because I know you didn't really start out there.
Right. Yeah, so my journey in pest control was kind of a rocky one a little bit, I'd say. Basically what happened was in between, semesters in college, I was looking for work, and Glenn, the owner of Newtown, I already knew him since I was dating his daughter in high school, and I just casually mentioned to him, like, hey, you got something for me, and he was like, yeah, of course, in pest control, you're always looking for somebody to, fulfill that route, get a truck going. So he taught me everything I know about pest control. So I was out there for a summer, mosquito sprays, termites. I did one of everything. So I have that under my banner. So it was a great learning experience. It was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. But like I mentioned, I was in between semesters in college, and I didn't really think that pest control was for me. So I was like, let me just stay in my field that I'm doing. Fast forward a few years, I finished school, I got out of that, and the job I was working wasn't really making me happy anymore. And again, I mentioned to Glenn, man, I really don't know if this is what I want to do forever, And he came up to me, he's like, well, I kind of have a position open, and it wasn't a tech anymore. It was I need somebody to help me run my operational stuff. So let me give it a shot. Let me try it out, And he really took a big gamble on me because my background is nowhere near pest control. It's nowhere near business either,
You have an engineering degree, right?
Yeah, I went to school for engineering. So, logistics, analytics, anything like that, I was really good at. So I tried to kind of bring in all that I knew from there, and it ended up, paying off pretty big for us.
Yeah. When you started, you were doing some operations within the company. So how did you get to be COO of Newtown?
I like to think that it was my, charming personality and good looks, but really it was basically what happened was I would constantly be looking for new things to do things more efficiently. That's really one of the things that we kind of really hammer on in engineering school. Things can always be better. Things can always be more efficient. So I would look around and think, because we were pretty much very technology less back then. So like a lot of companies today, I think doing scheduling on note cards, pen and paper. So there was a lot of things that I felt, it takes a little too long to get my answer that I want. So I would always look for some way to make life easier for me, for the person next to me, for the person who's going to come after me, because at the time I wasn't thinking that like, oh, I'm going to be here forever. I was just kind of helping out, but I was like, why not help out in a way that's really meaningful to everybody? So that's when we started looking into, how can we fix our routing? How can we make that more efficient? How can we make this more technologically advanced? So what started off as, hey Zeus, would you mind looking into this thing? Maybe we can do this better. I'm like, yeah. So, take this little project on, be like, hey, here you go. That turned out really well. Why don't we move on to the next one and the next one? And then it was just sort of like, hey, you kind of have your hands in everything. You're almost fulfilling that role already. And then we cemented it into like a legitimate thing. Like, this is who you are. This is what you do. And along with that came new tasks and responsibilities that I've taken on since.
So you went from pen and paper and note cards and a slow turnaround and decided to use software, I'm
Right.
assuming. Yes? Okay. And since then, the efficiency, you guys have taken off. Can you tell me a little bit about your growth within the company and how the company is doing?
Oh, it's fantastic. I tell people it's kind of like the world's scariest roller coaster because it's just go, go, go. One of the things that no one really tells you, but I think is really important to know, is one of the lessons we learned is when you grow, by like 100, 200, 300%, everything grows 300%. So if there's one piece of advice I'd like to give someone who's considering, because I think people are basically in two camps where they're like, I'm happy with my business, it sustains me and my family, I'm good, or like, I want to grow this into like the next Termite, let's say. It's good to have aspirations, but what you need to know is when you're this size and your problems are this big, if you grow 3 times, the problems grow too. So it's really
Yeah.
good to address problems when they're really, really small. Because if you think to yourself, 5 years from now, I want to be 500% bigger. If you don't address your routing problem now, you're going to have a routing problem that's 500% bigger. So I would really recommend fix the stuff you have. Like, it takes a special kind of person to really like sit down, humble yourself and be like, I'm really bad at routing. I'm really bad at accounts receivable. And that's one of the things we do really well here is we like to put people in the right spots. We're very okay with saying, you know what, I'm just not good at this. So we're going to bring somebody in here who is really good at this. And we've been able to create an awesome staff who they pretty much for the most part, they handle themselves super well. If they need us, we step in. We always bringing new ideas to them and we develop ideas from within. So when you have people who are really, really talented, they want to, not only do they want to be coached and they want to be helped, they also want to help you. And they're like, hey, I have this awesome idea I think could really work. And you get some really great ideas and the growth kind of just naturally comes from there too.
Yeah, I want to stop you right there because you have so many good things that you're talking about right now. First, about growth, preparing yourself to grow and reach your goals, so then when you get there, you're set and you can kind of just take off, as well as bringing in new ideas. So I want to touch on first about growth. So I know that you guys have grown 377% in the past 3 years, which is to me is bananas. What are some of the systems you have in place? Because I know when a company grows that quickly, there's a lot of things that can come up. You could see in the foundation where there's a few cracks. How did you guys navigate those problems and what systems do you have in place now?
So I think one of the big contributing factors for how we were able to grow so much really has to do with the fact that we started at the foundation and we're thinking to ourselves, we're missing something, we're missing technology, we're missing efficient solutions. And the growth along with, our great staff kind of just came from there where we're doing stuff so well. Like the stuff that we do it really well. We do it really efficiently. We do it very technologically advanced in a way that makes sense for us, makes sense for the customers. So a lot of the growth really comes from having a good foundation. It sounds kind of like, I don't want to say corny, but a little corny, that it starts at the bottom. you know? So you have to make sure you have that good foundation, and naturally a good bit of growth is going to come from that. We really focused heavily on routing. That's super important. We want to have a really nice tight area for our technicians to spend time in. On any given day, we might have one technician solely working this town right here, and then this other technician is only here, and they'll just never see each other. Sometimes, you have a customer who's like right in the middle and like, oh, I want this time, of course, we're going to make that possible for them. But you always want to keep your technicians in one place, and routing is super important. Not only keeping them in one place, but keeping them in an order that makes sense. We did come up with an issue where like we're routing really tightly. It's really, really nice, but we're making, spaghetti in that route. So going back to what I said about, putting people in the right place, there's a guy who works here whose entire job is routing, right? All he does is routing, and I'll check in on him and be like, hey, how's it going? And be like, oh, great. We use the job pool on field routes. We use smart routing on field routes. It's called smart routing. It's much smarter than I am. And basically what will happen is I'll check in on him and be like, hey, it's the beginning of the month. How are we looking on our routes? And be like, oh, great. He gives me like this long list of like clients we're doing this month. And like, oh, they're all scheduled. And I'm like, oh. And I don't get it,
Yeah.
I'm humble enough to say that I showed him what I knew. He took on some of what he knew, and then he continued learning. And now we have this guy who's just awesome at routing. All of
Yeah.
our stops are completely routed for the month, and we're doing great there. So those things that software really helped us out with.
I love that. I think routing is so important because, and we had talked about this earlier, you're saving on gas. Your techs are happier. They're not spending as much time in the car getting to somewhere. There's a lot that goes into it that you can benefit from. And you think it's pretty simple, but it has a big impact on the business.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, the difference in good routing can be your tech driving 100 miles or 60 miles,
Hmm.
and those 40 miles they're gonna rack up really quick. If you're saving 40 miles every day for 10 days, you do the math. That's a lot of wear and tear that you're saving. That's an oil change that's maybe a little bit later down the line. It's great for
Yeah.
the trucks. It's great for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about data and your point of view on data? Because we've discussed this before, and I think that your point of view is really helpful to anyone who's listening right now who kind of thinks data might not necessarily be as important as it actually is.
No, I think data is one of the most important things that we can measure in pest control and in every industry really. Pest control specifically, because that's my that's my field now. But I mean, there's so much hidden knowledge that you can get from your data. There's money hidden all over the place. Where am I doing well? Where am I doing poorly? One of the most important things that we try to look at is what's selling right now. You know, so if I go and look into my accounts right now, I want to see like, man, we're getting a lot of calls for yellow jackets. I can take that to my marketing team and tell them like, hey, we really want to hammer on yellow jackets. You want to listen to your customers, and the data is their way of speaking back to you. Oftentimes you can't just go out to the street and ask like, hey, what are you concerned with right now. So you have to make do with what you have, and you have really great data. If you can extrapolate it from your systems and you can learn to interpret what it's saying to you, you can find out exactly what's selling, what's not selling, and what can we do to get in front of these people. What do they really like? What's piquing their interest right now? And
Hmm.
like I said, you can get a lot from them.
Yeah, it sounds to me like data, not only is it telling you what you're doing right with the business, where you can improve, but also, like you mentioned right now, opportunities to focus your marketing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important. You don't want to be spending, especially with like the cost of marketing right now, you don't want to be launching a campaign for, let's say ants, and none of your customers are really concerned with ants. It might be counterintuitive to say, well, if they're already my customer, why do I want to hear what they say? Well, they have neighbors, and the neighbors are concerned with something too. So if Mrs. Jones has a problem with ants, the chances are that Mrs. Jones's neighbor has a problem with ants. So you know how to target and who to target.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's incredibly smart. What other systems do you have in place that you think create efficiency at Newtown?
We have a lot of really good systems where One of the things that I really like to do is I like to sit down with some of our like heads of, departments, and I like to just ask them, what's going on? What does your day look like? How can I make that better for you? And a lot of the time, all you really need to do is listen. I think oftentimes people in my role, we kind of find it's like, okay, well, I want to do something big. I want to make a big impact. I want to help in some certain way. And we kind of spin our wheels trying to like, let me copy what this guy's doing. Let me copy what that guy's doing. Or maybe try and find some groundbreaking new thing when you have one of your technicians sitting there and he's like, man, I wish Zeus knew that X, Y, and Z. I wish we could do this instead. If you just listen to them and you just talk to your technicians, they have some of the best ideas you've ever heard. And they have a lot of things that they want to say to you that will really, really help you. Now, I will say not every single idea is a good one. But that being said, every single one of my ideas isn't a good one. So who am I to expect them to be perfect too?
It sounds to me like open communication with the employees that you have and the higher ups that you're dealing with enables you to really have your finger on the pulse of what needs to be done within the company, and as well as the opportunity for great ideas and being able to utilize that as an opportunity for growth as well.
Yeah, I think an open flow of communication from like the highest up to the lowest down is super important. Everybody should know what we're on track to do because it really is a team effort. You know what I mean? I've always said that the technicians are the most important people here. I can sit at this big desk all day and be like, I think we should do this. I think we should do that. But when the rubber meets the road, it's my guys out there who are really taking up a B&G can and spraying. So I can make decisions all day long, but if my crew's like, no, I don't really want to do that, it's all for nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about the culture at Newtown? I know that you really pride yourself in taking care of your employees there and really listening to them. Can you tell me a little bit about what it's like within the company?
Oh yeah. So one of the awesome things about Newtown is that the company's kind of always developing, always changing. So we don't go by like a specific set of like, this is our core values. We always strive to do what's best for the customer, what's best for them, and what's best for us too. One of the tenets that I like to live by at the company is that everybody we meet is better off for having known us. That includes the customers, that includes our technicians, and everybody we interact with. One of the things that we've kept since when Glenn was, established the company 30 years ago, is he's always taught everybody do one nice thing for the customer. You know, so a lot of our guys will carry brooms around. Like you come up to your customer's covered porch, they're coming down the stairs. Why not sweep their front steps a little bit? Why not clear out? If you happen to have a snow shovel on you, shovel a little bit of snow. Bring up their newspaper. Sometimes we come out on garbage day. Roll that can up the driveway. You never know what that one little thing might save somebody. A whole days of heartache. You never know what somebody's going through, and they're like, man, I'm so busy, and this can's just sitting there. You know how HOAs are. You leave that can
Yeah.
out there for 1 minute too long, all of a sudden you got a letter in your mailbox. So if we can save them even just a little bit of headache, we want to do that. That's really a big part of our culture, is trying to do even just one nice thing for everybody. When I was a technician, I kind of lived by the tenet of like treat every customer like mom, because you never know
I
when like
love that.
I just know if my mom had somebody coming out to the house to spray, I know how I would treat my mom. I'd be like, where are the bugs? Because I still treat my parents' house, like every once in a while if they ask me like, hey, we got some bugs down here. I know I'm doing a super thorough job. I'm opening up every cabinet. I'm looking underneath everything. Where are you seeing bugs? Like, are you sure this is the last place you saw 'em? Like, I want to do, and we should be treating every customer like that. I
Yeah,
like to make them feel comfortable.
absolutely. What I love about the philosophy of approaching every customer as if they were family or your mom is that it comes from a place of respect. You're really going to try your best to answer those questions, to find out the problem, to show up and do a good job. And just that simple mindset can change how someone carries themselves when they're going into your home. I know I'm a renter, and I never get to choose who's at the company. So I always appreciate when someone takes the time to answer any of my questions, shows me what they're doing, or explains something and really tries to understand the problem. So I think that is a great place to operate from.
Absolutely. And a little bit of a little kernel of knowledge, for the some other operators out there. One of the things that I like to tell people, especially when, like you said, you don't always get to choose your tech, you don't always get to choose who you're working with. When you're really confident in your team, you've taught them well. Sometimes you get customers who are like, "Oh, well, I really like this technician." It might not work out all the time, but I'm so confident in every single guy here, that I would
Yeah.
have every single one of them treat my parents' house, right? But I'll tell them I still pick up a phone, like I think everybody should spend a little bit of time in each, member's shoes, find out what a day for a CSR is like. It can really help you spark a lot of ideas. But one of the things I do, I'll get a phone call and be like, hey, I really want specific tech. So one thing I tell them, and a lot of people seem to really like it, I tell them that you're really doing yourself a huge disservice by not getting to know the other technicians, because we hold every single one of them to the same standard of quality. So if you love this guy, I know you're going to love him too, because I'm confident in all of my guys.
Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about your training? I know that you focus in a lot on training your technicians and really keeping it consistent across the board. What is that process like?
So it starts with having awesome managers. We have a really great tech manager here who even he still shadows all of our technicians. So he's constantly making sure that like we're still upholding the same quality service that we're known for. And Newtown means quality up here, in Pennsylvania. So when you see a Newtown truck, they're going out to do some quality service. So really, it starts with our tech manager. He does a really awesome interview. If he feels that he's the right fit and we're the right fit for this person, a lot of the time we'll actually just have the guy ride along with one of our technicians. And like I said, I'm confident in all my guys that I know any single one of them could train them. So we have them spend some time getting to know the job, what it looks like, getting to know what the office layout is like. This is how we do our chemicals, this is how we do all of our technology. We use iPads for all of our field routes operations. So getting to know sometimes it might even take a full day for them to get to know, get up to technology savvy with the iPad and such. What's really great is that the training is so easy when it comes to field routes, because we have everything laid out in a way that like makes sense for them. So we always try to keep it very simple, very intuitive for them. So even for the guys who might not be so tech savvy, it really is really simple for them to kind of hit the ground running. As soon as we feel like they're comfortable, they know how we operate, the tablet is the easiest thing for them to work. And a lot of the guys really like it. They like to be able to draw graphs, like to be able to leave great notes.
That's really great. It's nice to be able to have everything you need all in one place as well. Going back to efficiency. I feel
Right.
like that's the overarching theme of this episode is like, how do I create a company that is efficient and kind and well organized? And it sounds like you guys at Newtown have it totally under control. It's amazing. Absolutely. So, we're talking about efficiency here, really. And it sounds like at Newtown, you have everything all in one place with field routes. Efficiency, you also are dealing with your techs, teaching them how to be in the community and interact with the community, right? So I would love to hear a little bit about your outreach in the community, some of your marketing ideas. I think you have a couple of very old school ideas when it comes to
Yeah.
this, and I think they're really cool. So if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I think really just when it comes to ideas and methods in general, I think we kind of tend to get caught up in what's hot, what's really new right now, and we kind of lose out on some of the fun that was had in years past. When I was younger, I used to look forward, when you're really young, you don't get mail, nobody's writing you any letters or anything. But like I feel like mail has just become sort of a routine part of our day, bill, like stuff like that. And we really like to kind of put that kind of almost nostalgia feeling back into it. So we do a lot of like mail in flyers, we do a lot of like postcards because we feel that, everybody's obviously digital marketing works great. It's awesome. It's obviously proven time and time again to work, but I think there's a lot to be said about the old school methods of advertising. People still like to see a beautiful ad on pen and paper. They still like to receive a postcard from us. So we try to really do a balanced mix of like, we want to do the digital marketing, we want to do the physical stuff. And one thing we're really pushing for this year is we're actually pushing for a lot more community involvement. So at the end of the year, we're going to participate in like a Christmas parade. So we're doing a lot of more stuff like that. That's just one of the things that we have planned. We want to, as far as like, it's not so much community outreach, but it's a little bit more charitable. One of our members on staff, he's been doing jujitsu for a long time. So I threw myself in the mix and I joined a jujitsu gym, and we're going to participate in this thing called Tap Cancer Out. It might be Tap Cancer Out or Tap Out Cancer. I don't remember the semantics of it, but it's basically a jiu-jitsu tournament for cancer research. So I'm going to put my neck literally on the line for cancer research, but we're going to reach out, we're going to let people know about it, like it's a fundraiser, so it all goes to cancer charities. So we're going to let everybody know, like, hey, look, Zeus is going to go, get thrown around on a mat for cancer research, and just let the customers know that, we care, about the community, about charity, about, we're trying to reach out to this local dog adoption. We love dogs. We are very much dog people. So when one of our clients, he mentioned like, oh, I actually do a dog rescue charity. We're like, we got to get involved with this. We have to help them in any way that we can, so we're going to try to, help them in any single way we can. Obviously pest control, dogs, get a flea treatment here and there.
Yeah. They go hand in hand.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
anyone ever mentions pest control, they're like, pets and
Pet.
adoption. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I I have to say, I think this type of outreach is incredibly important to a community. They're seeing you take care of the people around you, as well as creating this opportunities to meet each other, to really get to know each other. And as soon as they have a pest issue, which no one ever wants, they're going to know they could call their friends at Newtown and really get the service that they need. I would love to hear a little bit more about this parade, if you don't mind. If you could kind of go into what your artistic vision is for this.
Oh man, I'm not much of an artist. I'll tell you that much, but I can say I'll probably dress up as Santa. The
Amazing.
jury's still out on whether it's going to be Santa or I'm going to wear like an ant costume. But there's going to be candy given out. We're going to hand out some. We're going to let the community know that, hey, we're here. You know what I mean? And I think at this point, they know that we're here. But it's a friendly reminder that, like, hey, we care. We're here. Maybe you don't need us right now, but in the future, think about us. So
Yeah.
we're not trying to push anybody and like, hey, come get my service right now. But just to let you know, hey, we've been here. Glenn started the company over 30 years ago, so we've been a part for a long time. I think it's time that we gave a little bit back to the community that helps us do so much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's first of all, I'm going to need a photo of you as Santa or an ant. I'm happy with either. I think they're both excellent ideas. I think we should just take a poll and go from there.
Yeah.
It sounds like all of these opportunities in the community are really near and dear to your heart, which is something that you want to see from a company, something that feels authentic. You don't want it to feel
Yeah.
put on. And it sounds like you guys are doing things that are close to your heart, which I think is great.
Yeah. Well, having grown up here, this is my home, so anything I can do for this place, it makes me happy as well.
Absolutely. Zeus, this has been So much fun and so informative. I had a blast. I have one last question for you. Very often people hear pest control who are not in the business, and I feel like there's a negative connotation that
Hmm.
goes with it, or people kind of ask that, like have like a little bit of a question mark because they don't know much about the community and the business itself. Can you tell me what you wish people knew about the pest service industry?
Absolutely. And, especially going back to what we were talking about, like, pets and keeping them safe and everything. I think I prefer the term pest control. I really like when people call it, environmental services because that's really what we do. We maintain clean environments, we maintain safe environments for pets, people, for babies and grandma, So I feel like the term exterminator gets thrown around a lot. It's started to kind of go away now, but it kind of makes us seem like, we're merchants of death here, like he's going to show up and kill all my ants. When in reality, a pest control company like ours, what we do is a lot of it has to do with a bit of prevention as well. We do a lot of wildlife exclusions. We do a lot of our treatments are centered around keeping them out before they become a nuisance to your home. Or when pets get involved with like fleas, ticks, anything like that, obviously that brings a danger to your home, not only for your pets but also for you because they can carry diseases as well. I prefer to think of pest control as more of a steward to the environment, both ours and theirs. When we eliminate invasive insects, when we eliminate invasive wildlife from your home, it allows the other native wildlife and native insects to thrive just outside of our environment, So we try to keep that balance where we prevent things from getting inside your home. We prevent them from ever becoming a problem to you, and they can live outside where they belong. So I think, pest control and environmental services, I wish people would think of us more in that way rather than, I'm here to just destroy every single ant that ever existed.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is just a great perspective. It's really about keeping our homes safe and clean and also respecting the fact that very often we share the planet with these
Yeah.
with these insects. They're animals and we have to respect them, but we also want to make sure that you're safe. So it's this symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, exactly. We just help everyone stay in their environment, and maintain it safe for both.
Excellent. Oh, Zeus, I had so much fun. Thank you for being our very first interview. Truly, I think it was so informative and also entertaining. So, thank you so much. And I can't wait to get some updates on the parade.
You'll be the first person I know. I'm thinking of, Santa ant, it's got ant in there. Maybe
You
Santa
could
ant.
do it.
So yeah, I'll
You
figure it
could do
out.
a combo. You could do a hybrid. Absolutely.
May have to cut some
Absolutely.
holes in my hat, but I'll make
Yeah,
it work.
I think you will. Excellent. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a lot of fun.